Misconstructing Michael Jackson. The media's greatest betrayal. What do you really remember about Michael Jackson? Do you remember the voice, the impossibly high notes that soared through decades? Do you remember the moonwalk, the glitter glove, the beat it jacket? Maybe. But more likely you remember a scandal. You remember the word pedophile. You remember the media's nickname, Wacko Jacko. You remember whispers of disgrace. You remember he died young. But here's what you don't remember, or maybe what you were never told. Michael Jackson was investigated for 10 years by the FBI, and in the end, he was acquitted on all charges. Not one shred of credible evidence, not a single conviction. Yet somehow the stain remained. The truth? That was buried beneath headlines. Let's rewind. In 1993, after over 30 years of global adoration, a sudden and suspicious allegation emerged. The accuser, Dr. Evan Chandler, a Los Angeles dentist and screenwriter, he claimed Jackson molested his 13-year-old son, Jordan. The media had a field day. But here's what didn't get reported with the same urgency. There was no physical evidence, no proof, only a coerced, chemically enhanced confession from a minor whose father would later be caught on a secret recording, admitting it was all about money and revenge. And it gets darker. Evan Chandler literally drugged his own son with sodium amytal, an anesthetic sometimes mischaracterized as a truth serum, while pulling his tooth. Under the influence, Jordan gave the account his father needed. Chandler then demanded $20 million in hush money, and when that didn't work immediately, he took the story public. Michael, crushed by the public backlash and already addicted to painkillers from tour injuries, cancelled the remainder of his Dangerous World tour and disappeared from public life. Then his own sister LaToya called him a paedophile on camera, only to later admit she had been coerced by her abusive husband, a man who had changed his name and backstory multiple times. Why? Nobody asked. The headlines were enough. Fast forward to 2003. Another accusation, this time from Gavin Arvizo, a cancer survivor whom Jackson had previously helped. But this trial was different. Jackson was prepared. The FBI had already raided his home, seized electronics, hard drives, even old VHS tapes. After a decade of surveillance, they found nothing. Still, the media persisted. They reported the allegations, the charges, the whispers of secret settlements that the FBI files directly refuted. They did not report on the unanimous 2005 acquittal, or how Jackson's main accuser admitted under oath that nothing happened, or how Jackson's real enemies weren't children, but executives. Because while Jackson was fighting allegations in court, he was fighting Sony and its then chairman Tommy Mottola behind closed doors. Jackson owned 50% of Sony ATV, the music publishing empire that included the Beatles' catalogue. That made him the most powerful artist in the industry, and an enormous threat to the system he once helped build. When he began calling out the racist, devilish executives, people laughed. They shouldn't have. Michael Jackson died in 2009, just as he was planning a major comeback and renegotiating his stake in Sony's empire. He was overdosed by his personal physician under suspicious circumstances. 5 months later, Evan Chandler, the man who launched the original accusation, shot himself in the head. Coincidence? Maybe. But history has a habit of rewarding those who write it and punishing those who try to own it. So now, 15 years after his death, we have to ask, did Michael Jackson fall from grace or was he pushed? Because if the truth matters, then we must remember not just the performer, but the man who stood against $1 billion machine and paid the ultimate price. The real question isn't, was he guilty? We have the answer. The real question is, why don't you remember that he was innocent?